Previously on Barely Functional Dev, I talked about funcception, or higher order functions in highfalutin language. One of the examples that I gave of this was that of a function that took another function as its input, and that function was able to map the contents of a book to a summary of that book, and then the function would operate using that function to produce summaries of all the books in the library. This concept is referred to as a map function commonly in functional programming. I'm going to be explaining some more details of this, and after the break, a bonus function. There's no break. You don't get any reprieve from me. So for another example, let's start off with that of a factory. And in our factory, we have this conveyor belt where items are processed along. Let's say this happens to be a car factory that we're working with here. And so we start with some partially assembled, incomplete vehicles. And those go into our function here, which we called map. Map is going to do some maintenance on them. It's going to tune them up. It's going to spice them up. It's going to add some cool stuff to them. And then out the other end, we're going to get supercharged, complete, fully ready to race cars. Okay, so if we look at what that concept might look like in code, we have a collection of all the vehicles, what we start with. We have a function that can operate on each of the vehicles, and then that function will do all the tune-up, all of the adding of special features, all the make it run fast things, and then it will return the new result of that. Okay, and so to use this, all we need to do is, here's an example in JavaScript where we take the collection, it happens to have a map function, and then that map function receives the function that I just described that is the transformation to run on each one of the vehicles. And that's how map operates. Let's move on to another commonly used functional programming concept, and that one happens to be one called filter. In order to provide an example for this, let's start with the factory again. And here, let's say that instead of starting with all the same types of vehicles, we start with a collection of differently abled vehicles here, some of which meet the cut and some of which don't meet the cut. What you can do is you can imagine filter is kind of like our QA. Filter is able to take a look at each item that comes through it. It's able to inspect and decide whether it wants to include that item or it wants to drop it on the floor and not include it. So in this case, what filter will do is it will look at each of the vehicles that come through here and decide, is this vehicle up to snuff? Am I good enough to be included, to be shipped, to be sold for millions of dollars? And then in the case that it is, it allows the vehicle through, and then the smaller set of vehicles that do pass the filter is what the output becomes. Looking at this in code here, we start with, again, a collection of vehicles. Now we have a function that looks at each of the vehicles, and what it does this time is it returns a Boolean result. And here what it does is it looks, does this vehicle look cool enough for me to use it? And is this vehicle fast enough for me to be including it in our sales? And then once we've built that with the Boolean function, we can use the filter function on our vehicles collection and then return a new collection where each time the filter is called, it decides, hey, do you want to be in my new collection? Do you make the cut? Are you meeting my quality standards for this? And then the result is every time the isRacer returns true, it'll be included in the new set of vehicles. So I'm just starting out. I'm pretty new at this, so I appreciate if you could tell me if I'm doing a good job. Just give me a like, subscribe, hit the notification bell, all that good stuff, because that'll be the best way you can tell me that I am doing a good job and I should continue doing this. If I'm not doing a good job, please leave a comment below and let me know what I can do better. Till next time.